I said, you know what, I'm not going anywhere. I'm living in New York City and this is the best place to be and I better make it interesting. But all the conversation then was all about, you know, how much something is sold for. Just a lot about money and, you know, where are the ideas coming from? Where's the community? Where's the conversation? And it was all about saying, you know, let's go back to performance because you can't buy it or sell it. It's about, you know, the world of ideas. I grew up in Durban, South Africa, which makes for a very, very interesting. It's the heart of Zululand, it's the heart of a very large Indian population. The landscape, of course, is extraordinary. The politics was overwhelming. I studied tap dancing, did ballet, and actually studied Bharatanatyam, which is classical Indian dance. There's this history, there's these stories I want to tell. I need context, I need to make it into a big story. And then it was 6 months to go. It was like, okay, we've got to do this now. And then my board voted, you should wait another year, you should raise the money first. And I said, with all due respect, no. I said, then one day in 2004, I'm going to do this biennial. The first one was about 40 artists. I finally had the go-ahead. And that was interesting too, because by May, I still didn't have enough money to do this thing. We opened in 6 months, and the first piece was this work by Jesper Just, which we did at Donna Karan's space, and the next day it was like a Star is Born. It was a huge piece in the New York Times. My whole family was very much very curious and very driven and very politically questioning and critical. I think that's a big part of growing up in South Africa, the sense of really feeling, knowing you're very privileged, feeling guilty about being that privileged, but also feeling a sense that you have to, you know, take responsibility. The politics and art and all of the relationship between different disciplines, whether it was dance, whether it was film, it somehow was always connected. I was always looking horizontally across at a lot of different disciplines. It was a very big part of setting the stage for what I do now. My mother was, you know, the classic, I mean, not classic anything, she's an amazing educator. We'd go for a drive on the weekend, she said, bring your pad, bring your paints. You know, I couldn't step out the door without, you know, always like being aware of looking and writing down and taking note. There was a job at the Royal College of Art. They were advertising for somebody to be director of the gallery there. And I applied for it, and I was just out of school, and I think to everybody's surprise I got the job. So that was really the beginning of taking on exhibitions, which I had no idea actually what you did, how you did that. First thing I did was go to the Venice Biennial. Second thing I did was go to Documenta. The third thing I did was come to New York. This was all in 3 months, and that was my education. It was really starting to feel like, you know, the performance scene was starting to get very repetitive. You know, everybody was doing monologues. It seemed like I was starting to feel like there were so many things I was seeing that had already been done. I saw Sharon's piece there, the one with the man and the woman singing on either side, and just thinking, oh my God, this is what it should be about. Wow. There was that total moment for me where, like, here's East and West, black and white, politics, emotion, men and women, and I sat there with sort of tears in my eyes thinking, this is incredible. Why doesn't performance make me feel like this? Why aren't I seeing work like this that has such elegance, that's got real beauty to it, and that has all this meaning attached to it? Here was this beginning of conceptual art, this very, I mean, this work that was so intellectual and so conceptual, so philosophical, and deeply questioning the nature of art. I did a wonderful interview and met Man Ray when I was still a student there. It was intriguing to watch the progress, and he looked me, you know, in the eye and he said, there's no such thing as progress in art, young ladies. It's just like making love, there's just different ways of doing it. So I thought that was a good one. It was huge because I realized relatively recently, looking at what I'm doing in Performa, it probably was all started right there. Growing up in a South African context, growing up being a dancer, I think you come away from that always having quite a sense of, you know, walking across the stage and what are you going to wear. Still wearing the same high-collared little shirts that I liked when I was a kid, and probably baggy pants. If I could have my favorite little Kenzo jacket, you know, there's certain designers, there were those pieces that feels right, that feels great. I mean, I could just happily have that same group and wear them every day, and that would be it. I always have my one new shirt from Comme des Garçons that I'm crazy about, and these are actually Jill Sander pants that I think I bought 12 years ago. What was interesting coming out of art history was being there with contemporary artists and instantly stepping into this world, being with artists who were, you know, writing the next chapter. So the first time I came to New York in '72 was amazing. I had a dinner one night that somebody had organized where it was Lichtenstein and Oldenburg, and everybody was intrigued by, like, who is this person coming from the Royal College of Art? The whole phenomenon of Soho, of cheap rent, of being able to live in a 2,000 square foot space for $200 a month. The art world owned the downtown. Again, there was no money, and what was clever about it was we had a very small budget for this small gallery, but somehow got everybody to come and do amazing things. In that sense of, you've got to make every minute count. To departmentalization is always the word. How do we get people to work together? And magically we managed to get that to happen around the gallery. And, but it was my passport to all kinds of things. It just doesn't enter my mind that anything is a failure. My plan B is even better than my plan A. It's really in a way about the lives of artists in a funny way. It's rather about the sense that there's a lot of young voices there that should be heard, and how do we get that out there? And a sense that you can do anything if you want to do it. The way that culture reveals itself is so different from anything, and I think that art does that to us. It's complicated, and people are constantly trying to unravel what it means, and I think that exercise is what we all need to be doing.